Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of The Danny Show. Today, I have a very special guest. His name is Devo Brown. So, Devo Brown is a broadcasting veteran in the media industry. He got his start on the radio circuit, where he worked for the New Flow 93.5 FM station as an on air personality. He has worked for more than a decade, mostly on Kiss 92.5 in Toronto. He was the host of the highly rated Devo Brown Show, heard weekdays from 7 p.m. to midnight. No stranger to television as well. Devo previously presented entertainment news on the weekend for City News. Now Devo is waking up Toronto on breakfast television, but you can also catch him as a host of Entertainment City and On Your World this week. Whether it's interviewing today's top A-listers or co-hosting the 1 hour City Live at the Grammys Red Carpet Special, Devo can be seen daily delivering the latest in entertainment, sports, and lifestyle to viewers across the country. He has obtained a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology from McMaster University, and now Mr. Devo Brown joins me live. How are you doing, Devo?
Well, thanks, man. How are you?
Good, man. Good. Thank you for doing this. It's like a childhood dream come true. I grew up listening to on Kiss 92.5.
Two things of that makes me feel old, and the second thing, that's pretty awesome, man. Thank you.
No problem. No problem. So, firstly, to start this interview, I wanted to know what inspired you to pursue a career in broadcasting? How did you kind of get involved in this industry?
You know quite a bit about me. That was pretty awesome, that intro. So thank you for that.
No
Look,
problem.
you mentioned the sociology degree there. I had a lot of different aspirations when I was younger.
Hmm.
Radio and television were never a part of that. I
Right.
listened to the radio a lot as a kid. I remember that. I loved music,
Right.
but I was never like specific about it. I just enjoyed hearing it and like dancing around as most kids would, right? But now I think
Right.
kids are like very focused. They know the words to every song and things like that. I kind of remember some songs that I used to sing along to as a kid, but not that many.
Right.
Um,
Right. Right. Right.
and then I went to school. I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted
Mm.
to see if I could make
Okay.
a difference for people. All my experience prior to doing anything within the field I'm in now
Hmm.
was working with young people. So whether it was at camps for the YMCA and things like that, or the town of Ajax where I spent some of my teenage years and went to high school there, um, coaching basketball, doing all that kind of stuff throughout university. I was volunteering doing that in Hamilton for a pretty cool league there. There was a couple of leagues actually. I worked with some of the inner city kids, and then I worked at another league called Blessed Sacrament. So
Right.
um, it was always that. And so going to university, I lived on campus at Mac, and these were the days where everyone was getting music in certain ways that may not have
Right.
been the most legal ways. So I am guilty of that. And because of
Right.
that, I had new music before everybody else. And they would come by my dorm room and
Hmm.
they would be listening. They're like, "Oh, what's that song?" Da, da, da. And I'd be like, "Oh, yo, this is this. It's really cool."
Right.
And because of that, I ended up DJing at a party in my first year of university, and I had no idea what I was doing. I had
Okay.
these two like home, they gave me these two home CD players that were massive. And they said, okay, like what else do you need? I'm like, I don't know. I need a way to play them. So I got a mixer. And so I was playing songs that I thought I'd want to hear at the party. And the party was for like 150 people on our residence. It was a couple of the floors, and people had a good time. And I was like, yo, this is really cool. Like all these people had fun and I was a part of it. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
like had something to do with it. That was really neat. And so from there, I had talked to a bunch of different, I was kind of the social guy going to the bars and stuff like that, and just would bring all the groups out, and we'd all be dancing and having fun. So a lot of the people locally got to know me and offered me DJ jobs at the bars locally, and so
Amazing.
I started doing that. So starting in second year, I was the DJ at the campus bar, off campus bar, and doing some of the biggest nights out there in Hamilton. And man, honestly, the coolest thing for me about that was, I mean, you're going through it. So university and college kids, there's a lot of drama that can happen. You're stressed out because you want to, get good grades because mainly you want to impress your parents and make sure that you have a future.
Right.
You might be in a relationship and there
Hmm.
might be drama with that. You
Sure.
might be struggling getting ready for exams. You might be your
Right.
friends, whatever it might be. You came to the night that I was DJing at and you forgot all about it and you had a great time. So all that real stuff that was going on in your life was gone and you had fun. And I saw people smiling and enjoying that. And I knew I had a huge part of that. And that
Hmm.
felt good, and I
Right.
wanted to do more of that. So from there, I met somebody at one of the bars. One of the bars took me to a radio station, and then from there, I started volunteering at a radio station. So I started off as an intern, handing out stickers and chapstick and whatever promo items to people on the streets for this radio station, Energy 108, out of Hamilton.
Right.
And yeah, and then I just started hustling and grinding and kind of I finished off my degree, got my sociology degree because I want to make sure I can prove to myself and to my family that once I start a task, I can finish it.
Yeah.
And
Right.
but I knew that that wasn't going to be the path for me anymore, but I still made sure to complete that task and then started going in the other way. So I was doing all night classes because I wasn't going to be getting up early because I was DJing 3 nights a week while I was still finishing up
Hey.
school and then started working other jobs as well. And the hustle was real and it's never stopped.
Wow. So wow, that's amazing to hear. So kind of cool how you started off as a volunteer and kind of made your way into the industry, just DJing and kind of just, started from the bottom, now we're here kind of thing.
Literally, man, literally. And the funny thing is, like, people that go to school for this are like, "What? Are you kidding me? You never went to school for this? Like, oh, we
Yeah.
hate you." I'm like, I mean, everyone has different paths, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And this
For
is the
sure.
one that worked for me. And let me tell you, if I had an opportunity to go to school for this and I knew that's what I wanted, that's what I would do. And
For
then those
sure.
internships that come with it and the opportunities like what you have now to do that, I mean, that is huge. And I didn't have that. So,
Yeah.
something that might take someone that went to school and were in a program for 2 3 years took me 5 to 7 years
Right.
because of that, right? Because
Right.
of that, it was just knocking on doors and getting denied and trying to just prove yourself all the time because you had no proof that you were capable of doing this except for what people saw you actually do.
Exactly. Exactly. I see what you mean, man. I totally agree with you. So throughout your career, what have been some of your most memorable moments, as a broadcaster?
And you mentioned started from the bottom. Now we're here. So
Right.
when I was at Flow 93.5, we were the first to play Drake's music,
Mhm.
and I was involved in that from the beginning. With him getting his music on radio, kind of like he hustled, and he's another person that I respect for that, for
Mhm.
especially where he is now and the global superstar that he is. But yeah, he was like, "Hey man, like we got it. Like I want my music on there." Him and I had met in a different capacity, him as an actor, and we were doing a volunteer event. And he kept on telling me, he's like, "Yo, I got music," and we exchanged numbers. And he's like, "Yo," and I would shout him out on the radio all the time, but I would shout him out as Aubrey. And
Mhm.
he's like, "You got to call me Drake." And I go, "Not until I hear music." And he physically brought music to me on his phone for me to hear. And we made sure that we got that on. He had already dropped it off to our music director, and we all had a conversation. And literally a week later, his music was on the radio, and the rest is history. Like I
Yeah.
mean, and with that, came a pretty cool relationship. If we see each other to this day, there's still respect there, which is really um, which I appreciate. He doesn't have to do that.
Mhm.
But yeah, when he came back and did his first homecoming concert, I was the one to introduce him on stage, which was really cool. I had a lot of respect for him for doing that. So
Dude, that's
he,
amazing.
there's all kinds of stories that you hear about that guy, but that guy cares about the people that he knew and
Mhm.
helped him along the way, and he never forgets those things.
Right, right. That's amazing that you got to know him and, bond with him. That's amazing.
Oh yeah, man. The early days were fun. Like let me tell you, and it was really cool to see and watch, and then that's the one thing that's cool about radio and in this industry, right? Like you never know where someone's going to go, and if you are kind to somebody and you think I'm always going to be good to anybody that approaches me, but you never know where they're going to end up, and if you do it just out of the kindness of your heart, you see cool stories like this.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. So, I wanted to know, besides, Drake and whatnot, who were your idols growing up?
Man, I mean, I was a little like 4'11" kid playing basketball. I still love me some MJ. I didn't play basketball really. I was in Halifax and I kind of had an idea
Right.
of it and played there like right when we moved out. But when I came to Toronto, I actually saw games on TV. It was Michael Jordan playing, for Chicago Bulls.
Right.
And it was I think his second year. I think I missed his rookie year. I think it was his second year when we got out here. I was watching his second season and I was like, this guy is unreal. And so, I would do stuff and I'd dribble and I'm like, I'd stick my tongue out when I was trying to shoot the ball. I'm like, it was a little tiny little thing, man. So, watching that, MJ was definitely um, like a role model in that sense when it came to basketball. Like he was the god to a lot of people my age and that time
Right.
when it came to sports and stuff. But I had to look around my own home to see some people that were really impressive. I mean, I looked up to my older brother quite a bit, and
Mhm.
my dad and my mom, they went through a lot of hardships, and to see and I don't think I fully appreciated it at the time, but I understood it, and I realized a lot of things that they went through, and how hard they worked to make sure that we had things. And so I looked around, like my dad and my mom, like they definitely part of the people I looked up to at such a young age.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. And for many of us kids, our mom and dads are who we look up to. So shout out mom and dads out there. So I wanted to know, how was your experience at Kiss 92.5 like as well? Because I grew up listening to you on the radio before I went to elementary school. Sorry, well, after elementary school, going to like, ball runs with the boys and stuff.
Yeah,
Um, how was that experience for you?
it was cool, man. So I mean, I was at Flow 93.5, and then they got bought
Right.
out, and they kind of like did a whole revamp and everything. And so I was one of the first to get let go as program director, and then me, I was doing the morning show at the time. And so in broadcasting, when you're somewhere for a long time, I was there like 6-ish years.
Hmm.
Um, and your world comes crashing down because that's all you know. And you're not out there because you loved what you were doing. You didn't want to go anywhere else. You're not looking for another job. And if you're a young broadcaster, you're not thinking about, oh, I need to set myself up for another job in the future in case this comes crashing down.
Right.
So when it came crashing down, I was like, oh, this is devastating. Like, what do I do? Am I ever going to get a job in the industry again? Am I not? So all you can do is set yourself up and prepare yourself for those things. So I hit up everybody that I could and sent out a bunch of demos and said, I would love to work for you, and this is why. And then I let it be.
Hmm.
I got a call from Kiss, and Kiss brought me on to do a couple of weekend shows, just to kind of test me out. And then they're like, okay, yeah, we're bringing you in. And
Right.
so, and again, the same thing that happened to me at Flow when I first got brought in. I started off on the weekends, and I did some fill in. Then I did the drive show, and then I did the morning show. I ended up on the morning show for
Right.
Flow.
Right. Right.
With
Right.
Kiss, it was the same thing. It was a couple of weekend shows, and then it was like, okay, we're going to do weeknight splits. Um, we're going to still have you fill in every now, like you're going to be the swing announcer, so you're going to do different roles. I think to this day, I'm the only other person to be on the Roz and Mocha show besides those guys, like to fill in as a guest host.
I think you are. I think you are.
Yeah, right. Because you were
Yeah.
listening, so you would know.
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't think they put on anybody else on that show except when one
It's
of them are
their
away. They
show,
would bring me in. Yeah,
Yeah, it's their show. And then I think you're the only one that they're like, yeah, we only believe in you to come in.
yeah, man. I mean, I don't know if it was just a warm body that I was there, or if they did believe in me or not. But whatever it was, I was grateful for it, man. It was always a good time working with those guys. So, yeah, so I was there, and then eventually became the evening show, and I did the evening show for quite a while there.
Right.
And I still do a couple of shows on there to this day. I do
Oh,
a
cool.
hip
Okay.
hop show on Friday nights,
Right.
from 11 to 1, and I do set it off on Saturdays with DJ Climax. Him and
Yeah,
I still
DJ
do that
Climax. Yeah.
every Saturday across the country, man. So it's fun. I love radio. I really, really do. And I don't ever really kind of want to step out of it. So that's why I keep doing those
Oh,
shows,
that's
and,
amazing.
do that on my personal time to make sure that we still have some fun. And that Saturday show to me is just like, it's a fun mix show, and Climax is incredible to work with too.
Yeah, he's a great DJ. Shout out DJ Climax for what he does.
Yeah, man.
92.5. And yeah, like honestly, those Saturdays when I used to go to like either, basketball practice or whatnot, like you guys always cheered me up. So I appreciate it, man.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. You listening and stuff. Yeah. So I mean, my time at Kiss was great. There was some adversity there towards the end, and that's kind of where I moved into the TV side of things.
Right.
But it all kind of worked out in my favor in that sense, because I was wanting to make a move towards television, and that's kind of what the next chapter, I think, in the next part of the evolution was for me.
That's amazing. So now that you've been in that, new evolution and chapter, like you said, how do you like the whole breakfast television experience? I brought Sid Seixeiro on my show a few
Oh
weeks.
yeah.
So yeah,
How was Six Airs? How was he?
he was amazing. He was amazing. It was like a childhood dream come true for me as well,
I
just
bet.
like this one. So because I grew up watching him on like Tim and Sid,
Yeah.
and yeah, it was a great interview with him. So yeah, I wanted to know from your perspective, how has breakfast television been treating you?
Yeah, man, really well. I mean, I wish it was started at 10 a.m. instead of ending at 10 a.m. Because I'm a night owl, man. I
Right.
really am, and we joke about it on the show, but it's the truth. Like right before we started this, I woke up an hour before you and I had a conversation because I was napping. That's how my days go.
Right,
So,
right, right.
but I like it, dude. It's honestly a different, coming from radio. And Sid probably told you kind of something similar about radio, because I know we have the same thoughts, and he always tells me about it too. But when you do radio, you feel like you can do anything
Yeah,
because
he
there's
doesn't
times,
said the
right?
same thing.
That's,
Yeah,
and the radio he did was very different than the radio I did. Doing talk radio and having to fill certain blocks and chunks of time is a little bit different than doing top 40 radio or music radio, where the longest you'll probably ever talk in a break is maybe a minute and a half. Unless you're
right,
doing a morning show, you might do a 3, 4, maybe 5 minute break in that sense.
exactly, right.
But if you're just doing like top 40 radio, it's 30 seconds, talk about this song or this story, 45 seconds, and boom, you're back into the music. But you also are put into situations, and I do a lot of live hosting and things like that, where you just have to ad lib and you don't know, like something could go wrong. And I think
Right.
that really prepared me for television in that. But it,
Mhm,
it took a minute, I'll be completely truthful about that, because you got to get used to seeing yourself.
mhm,
Just like when you're doing a podcast, you're doing radio, you got to get used to hearing yourself. That was a struggle
exactly.
for me as well, because I didn't like, I'm like, ooh, that's how I sound. Don't think I like that, when I first started radio. And I'm like, oh, well, that's you. Like, deal with it. That's who you are. You
Right.
know, you're not going to change your voice now. You can try and be like, well, hi there, I'm Devo Brown, and this is how I'm going to talk. And people are like, what are you doing, bro? Can't do that.
Exactly.
And with TV is the same thing. You just got to be like, hey, this is who I am. This is God given me. Appreciate it, respect it, deal with it. And so when you get over, and get through your mind about like any kind of self-conscious or self-image issues, once you get through that, man, like confidence comes through, and you have a good team around you. Like we have a really good team there. You see everybody on the front of the camera, but everyone behind the camera, we got some really good support, and a lot of
Mhm.
people, helping us out behind the camera, and just really giving us the props that we need, and giving us the yeah, really the support that we need in order to perform each day, and to be the best we can up there.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear, and shout out, Breakfast Television, what they do, honestly. Thank you for, serving all the Torontonians a great service every morning. I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
thanks, man. Yeah, honestly, like I said, when I started off DJing, same thing. I just want to go out there and have fun. I want to make people smile, and it's the
Right.
same thing every morning. That's what it is. I want to make people laugh. I want to make people smile. I want you to walk out that door. If you watch the show, I want you to walk out that door and kind of have a nice little bounce to your step and feel good about the day, and be like, maybe I'll be good to somebody else. Maybe I'll have a little more patience with someone who doesn't have it today, because I feel good today. And that's kind of where I want to send people when they're leaving each morning.
Right. No, you absolutely do, man. You absolutely do. As far as
Thanks.
for me, you do.
I appreciate that.
So I wanted to know, since you're a television broadcaster now, I wanted to know, with the rise of digital media and specifically social media, how do you see the future of broadcasting kind of changing? I was talking to this about Sid as well, seeing his
Hmm.
perspective. I want to see your perspective on it as well.
I think it's different on the medium.
Hmm.
I think I think it's tough, man. Like you'll see, like if people go by the books and ratings and things like that, and a lot of people say the industry is shrinking, and that you see layoffs happening at different places, and that's unfortunate, because you never want to see a peer or a colleague, whether
Yeah.
you're a teammate of theirs or they're on another team. You don't want to see anyone lose a job, like you never do, because that's an indication of maybe that can happen to you as well, right? And you just, same thing. You just want people to be able to have work, support their families, do what they love to do. Um, I think what we do with television, with radio, is going to be more of this. I think you're
Hmm.
going to see more of that. Um, but I don't think it'll ever go away, because there is that need for local,
Yeah.
for local and live. And that's the one thing, shouts to Julie Adam, who was in charge of radio at Rogers for a long time. She's over at Universal Music now. And that's the one thing she always fought for,
Hmm.
was live and local. If you are, and I've been fortunate enough to go to different communities in this country, especially as of recently, and to see the importance of knowing what's going on in your community at that time
Right.
is huge, man. It is so big. And I think, a lot of the corporations, even if they want to do that, some don't, because of cost cutting and things like that. And I think that hurts a lot. Uh, but there is that, when I'm driving home, I want to turn on the radio and I want to know what's going on. If you live in Vancouver, you want to know what's going on the highway there. If you're living
Yeah,
in
for
Toronto,
sure.
you want to know what's going on the 401, why there's a block up. Or I want to hear what's going on in my community. And that's what Breakfast Television does very well too. But we're a little bit guilty of that, because it's a national show. So when we go national, we have a local portion of the show, but when we go national, we're not talking specifically about what's going on in Calgary. or in
Hmm.
Winnipeg
Right.
because we're not there, one. But at that point of the show, it's a broader spectrum. We're doing things now to talk to as many people as possible, not just a specific community, right? When we're doing the
Right.
first portion of the show, we are a little more Toronto focused
For sure.
to talk about what's going on here. So I think, in the future of this, like, long answer to your question is if we're not careful, things can, the traditional broadcasting mediums can have significant issues if we're not careful. And I think we're getting close to that point. Um, but I think there's still a future there,
Hmm.
not as grand as it used to be.
Sure.
Even before my time, 20, 30 years ago, you had a nightly news in every city of this country, you know what I mean? And,
Right.
and every community knew what was going on and they would tune into that. And that was special to them. If you were a kid at the school and the local news person came to you, even if it was a town of 5,000 people, that was a huge deal. Like that was awesome.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And sadly, that doesn't happen anymore. So I think digital, social plays a huge role. I think there's going to be a saturation point though, and I think we're getting close to that. Everyone's got a podcast. Everyone's got a YouTube stream. And we're all guilty of it. Like, I'm like, oh, do I start a podcast or not? I don't know. Like, and I'm thinking about it all the time. I got my YouTube channel, and like everybody's, we're all over doing Instagram lives, whatever it might be. So I think there is a point where there is going to be too much content for everybody. The monetization aspect of it might dip down for all those people that, the influencers and the streamers that have been getting some big dollars. I feel that is going to come crashing a little bit. It'll always be there, but I don't think it'll be as lucrative as it was right at the beginning because everyone's doing it now.
No, for sure. I totally agree with you. It's great to hear what your perspective on things. That's amazing. So I wanted to know right now with like what we're doing right now with podcasting, what are some of like the key kind of skills, a broadcaster um should attain, should acquire in order to be successful in this industry?
I think everybody's different in the sense of how they want to deliver
For
and the
sure.
personality they want to have, and I think you have to really understand yourself and what you want to be
Right.
on whatever broadcast you're doing. So if you are a podcaster, if you're an influencer, whatever, are you going to be a character or are you going to be a version of you? Or are you just going to be you? So, people, you see TikTok stuff and these people, and it's that character for that platform and that's it. But if you meet them outside of that, they're a completely different human,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And that's cool if you understand that and if you're good with that, but that's a lot of work.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
know when I started and I was like, okay, I'm going to do, and then I was like, wait, no, I don't want to be a character. What you're getting is an extension of who I am as a person because I don't ever
Right.
want to have to put it on when I meet somebody.
Absolutely.
Um, because again, that's tiring, man. That's exhausting. You know what I mean? Like you're like, okay, and go. And you're being an actor now, and I don't know if that's it. So I think knowing yourself is the first key and knowing who you are, what you stand for in those sense and what you want to have conversations about. I think arming yourself with information based on whatever topic you're doing is huge. That to me is the biggest thing. I over prep for interviews that I do. Uh,
Hmm.
when I have the time, there's times where I'll be honest with you, like Devo, you're interviewing this person in like an hour. You're like, oh, okay. And so, you do whatever you can in that time. But when you
Yeah.
have the time, like I over prep. So I'll spend, for a 5 minute interview, that's the work people don't see. If it's for a movie interview, you're watching the movie, might be watching other things that person's done. You're reading up on them quite a bit. And so
Yep.
you're doing, 6, 7, 8 hours of preparation behind the scenes work for a 5 minute interview.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and to me, I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's part of the job. So I think, again, arming yourself with information, always being prepared for those conversations,
Yep.
and listening. When it comes to the conversation itself, it's listening. You can have an idea of what questions you want to ask, and that's great. You have your list and everything, and you have things that you have to get through and you want to get through. But I think when you listen to somebody, even in those short interviews or long form interviews, you get something cool when you follow it up with something.
For sure.
Um, I did something. I'll do a quick name drop. You mentioned off the top, but some of my favorite moments. So interviewing Jay-Z was
Jay-Z.
huge for me. Like he was a guy, high school. You talk about the idols and stuff. High school, love the music, right? You know,
Hmm.
I'm growing up. He's a guy where I'm like, I listened to you in high school, kind of thing. So I got to interview him for the Blueprint 3 album, and we were doing a full, expansive, like cover to cover. It was supposed to be, 8 minutes we were going to have together.
Right,
And
right.
his very first answer, he said something about, there being sharks in the water. Like he said that, watch out, there's sharks in the water, whatever. And I responded to him before asking my second question based on that, what he had said in the first 30 seconds. And
Hmm.
then he started talking and he goes, huh, he goes, you're sharp. I like that. Because he realized I listened to him. That interview ended up being 18 minutes because he wanted to keep having a conversation with me because he enjoyed it and we were going back and forth.
That's
Um,
amazing. That's
and it's
amazing.
not challenging somebody, it's it is. I mean, it can be challenging them
Mm.
and listen. But again, when you listen, you can get so much. I think one of the mistakes that a lot of broadcasters can make is just question and answer, question and answer, question and answer. Now, sometimes you're strapped for time, and that's
Yeah,
what you got to do because
yeah,
you might have producers or certain segments that they want, and this is the information they want.
for
But when
sure.
you get the chance to really have a conversation with somebody, I think that's
Yeah.
what it is. So I think knowing yourself, arming yourself with information, and really listening are the top three things for me.
Yeah, exactly, man. I'll speak on that as well. Like when I started with my podcast, it was kind of like you said, that question answer type of format, and I try to segue from it as well. When I brought Sid was like, put the script away. I'm like, okay, sure.
Yeah.
And then he was like, just have it naturally, just do a natural conversation. After that interview, when I do everything naturally, I give props to him. Honestly, everything
Hmm.
just flows better. He just said, say the first question, read off the first question, then go and say whatever you comes to mind. Just flow like it's a conversation. It's not like a network show or anything. So that's
Yeah.
amazing, right? So that's
Well,
really
that's it. You have the time, right? You can
right.
expand on it, and
Yeah.
it's funny, and I'm glad he told you that and
Hmm.
gave you that suggestion. When
Hmm.
I started, same thing, and it's a common thing, right? Because you don't want to take too much time from somebody, or you don't want to
Right,
bore them
right,
with anything. You want
right.
to keep it moving, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of the mentality we'll have. And I remember when I started, I first did an interview with blah blah blah. Like I would label all my stuff. I would say the interview with so so, and then I was like, wait a minute, no, it's a conversation with. And so
Yeah.
everything now for me is and this was, I'm talking back at Flow. So I'm talking like 16 years ago. Oh
Hmm.
God, no, maybe less. I'm aging myself more than I need to. But I would say I remember Neo. I had a conversation with Neo, and it was a 15-minute one, and I put that in there, and I'm like, it's not an interview, it's a conversation with, and that was the first one when I was like,
Yep.
it's a conversation,
The
and ever
conversation.
since then, it's always that. When you
Yeah.
hit people with real talk, that's when you get the best out of them.
Yeah, honestly, I started out like just like you. It was all interviews, but then when Sid came on, he's like, just think of it as a conversation. And ever since
Yeah,
then, it's
man,
like,
that's it.
you're right. It is a conversation, right? You're just talking to
Yeah,
the person, seeing who they are. Exactly.
yeah,
So, I
completely.
appreciate you coming on the show, man. One more question, and I'll
Yeah, for
wrap.
sure.
I wanted to know any advice you want to give to anyone out there who wants to get into broadcasting, who wants to become well known in the media industry like yourself. What should they do?
Don't do it. Don't do it. No, I'm kidding. Uh, I think do it for the right reasons, which is you're curious about things. Like, again, I know it from a music, entertainment, lifestyle perspective. Those are kind of the fields that I've been within media, right? But if you are a journalist and you want to know news and you want to present news and you want to really put information out there for people, for communities, where small or large,
Mhm.
do it for the right reasons. Know why you want to do it. Don't do it because you want that 15 minutes of fame or you think you can like get famous quick and that's the way to do it. I think that's the wrong reason, and I think you'll find that you might get washed out pretty quick. But I think if you do it for the right reasons, know why you want to do it, find that passion, go with that passion, and keep working on your craft all the time, and don't get discouraged. Like I'll tell you, man, I got told no so many times. I told, listen, man, we don't have the time of day for me to tell you the rejections I've got, the adversity I've had to go through, whether it be, you're not good enough. Uh, you're not wide enough. I've been told those things. You're not smart enough, whatever it might be. But it all depends. Like those are perspectives of one person, and unfortunately, one person, whether maybe you have a prof, right? That prof
Mhm.
doesn't like you because they don't
Right.
like your style. But you
Right.
might have another prof or a dean or someone who is looking to hire who will like your style. It's all
Right.
people's perspectives, and so if one person doesn't like you and says, "Oh no, you're not good enough," don't take that for verbatim. Don't take that as truth. Move on. Try somebody else.
For
Keep
sure.
going. Now, if you think they have a reason for saying that, then maybe do some reflecting as well and be like, okay, maybe I need to work on this. And that's what I would do. I'd be like, okay, what can I work on from that feedback that they gave me? And even I do that to this day. Like I look back, I watch my interviews, I watch back sometimes to the show to see, okay, I didn't really like that. You know what? And you got to keep doing that. I listen back to the radio shows. Dude, why would you say it like that? That didn't make sense. You might understand it, but you're telling a story that no one's heard before, so you got to explain it a little better. So always working and not taking yourself so seriously that you can't take critique and feedback. I
For
mean, I
sure.
think that's the hardest thing for a lot of us to do is for someone to say, "Hey, that wasn't so good.
Mhm.
Let's work on that." And that feels like a kick to the
Mhm.
chest, but
Right.
it's
Right.
it's it's a way to go. So I think know why you want to do it, and pursue it, and really believe in yourself to say, okay, yeah, and I can make a difference in this way and all that. Don't do it just for fame, because you might not get it. Look,
Mhm.
I'm almost 20 years into the game and I'm still trying for that part of it. So yeah, just do it because it feels right for you, and it's a passion that you have.
Amazing words said by Devo Brown right there. Devo, appreciate you coming on my show, man. Devo Brown, you can follow him on his Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. I'll put all his social handles in the description down below for y'all to connect with him. Devo, thanks for doing this, man. It's like a childhood dream come true. Thank you, man.
Hey man, this was amazing. You're doing a great job, dude. So keep it up, man. It's awesome. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
All right, you too, brother. Thank you.